Right. Let me get a squared away. I about did not make it. It was the epic meltdown of epic proportions from tired toddlers.
Yeah.
Not good.
Well, we're here now, drinking whiskey, so
Yeah.
all is good.
You're a
What are
little
you drinking?
you're a little feedbacky. I'm
I
actually
am.
drinking. Yeah, I can hear some like weird barrel static in the background. Now I'm actually drinking Jefferson's rye finished in cognac.
I too am drinking Jefferson's. I'm drinking my Ocean aged at sea. I thought it was pretty appropriate for the occasion. So
Anyway,
I am pretty excited about this one because this kicks off us talking about our gimmicky whiskeys, and you know how I am about
yeah,
a good story. Or
it's something. It's something every time you speak. Every time you speak, it gets staticky.
all right, hold on one second.
Don't worry, I'll kill time. If anybody had noticed today, I actually wore glasses that matched the color in my shirt because I'm that guy.
It's the superest of douchers.
It's the superest of douchers. Good evening, everybody. Sunday evening sipping with Eric's drink whiskey, or Eric is drinking whiskey. Eric is having feedback, but he will be back from feeding. I don't know if he's making shit up.
How does it sound now?
Much better.
So something with my AirPods was messing with it.
But anyway, welcome everyone. So Eric and I unceremoniously both picked the Jefferson's product to start our Sunday evening sipping off today.
And I think the reason we both did that, well, I mean, aside from the fact that they both taste good, we're venturing into a little arc of episodes and podcasts and blog posts that focus on whiskeys that have. I don't like to use the word gimmick because it's such a like a negative word, but they have a gimmick.
Yeah.
Something about them that sets them apart from just normal, off the shelf bourbon.
Right.
So that's what brings us here today. We've got a podcast coming out. We're talking about finishes. It was super fun to chat through that. We've got an episode dropping this Thursday talking about Blackened.
Yay.
Which is a blended and finished product. But so we're here tonight just talking about our favorite kind of whiskey gimmicks.
Have you had this? Have you had this straight rye in the cognac?
Is that one of the samples you gave me?
Yes. I think it is.
We can both drink it.
Yeah.
Unless you want to save it for an episode. Well, if it's good, I'll go buy my own.
Yeah, I want to say this is about $60.
Yeah, that's tame for Jefferson's. Bear with me while I check my Facebook Messenger for the answer key to your madman assortment of samples.
Yeah, this was
Jefferson Rye Cognac, number 19.
Yeah, this is a very it's very light and I don't know, youthfully fruitful. Obviously, I would say this was probably MGP rye.
I'll be able to tell you.
But I can't tell that it's MGP.
I feel like an old timey pharmacist with all the Bostons you gave me.
Right.
I'm like up there. up there rattling through like, let's see, you got a head cold. Do we got any heroin, leeches?
I think this is a 95.5 rye, but it's but that cognac finish really has toned it. 90 94 proof.
This is this the only rye that Jefferson's does
No,
currently?
they do a chef collaboration,
That's right. Yeah.
which is the Abu rye. Now they had back in the day, they had some like heavy age stated rye, like 23-year-old, one of those like presidential selections.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
Ooh, that's really nice on the nose.
It's not like I said. I'm pretty sure it's a 95.5, but it's like that cognac has really mellowed that because I'm not really one for a 95.5.
I can smell that it's a rye. If it's MGP though,
This is
I
very minty.
I can't smell it, which means that cognac's knocked that down a little bit, which is
I will probably get this as a tattoo. The Willet bird. It's kind of badass. Just saying. If you're out there watching, let us know who you are. Give us a hey. What are you drinking? And if you aren't drinking, try to. We're just talking about finished whiskeys, whether it be Scotch, bourbon, rye, whatever you want to hail corn.
hmm.
What you think?
That's really good. Um, Again, if it's MGP, that cognac has covered that up. I really don't get hardly any dill at all, which is kind of my hallmark tasting note with those.
It's really minty for any. Like this. I mean, this is a. I'm not saying youth as a bad thing for this, but this has got some.
It's got some zip to it,
I,
and I know that comes from youth, um, but it doesn't taste young.
it
You
has some
don't
character.
you don't have that kind of grassy back palate aftertaste. Um, and again, I don't know. I
It's legally okay to say something tastes if it's a rye to say it's grassy because it is.
well, I know, but it's not. And that's typically one. Let me Google it real quick because I'm kind of interested where they source it from, if they source it from anyone. Um,
They don't tell. Jefferson's is pretty kind of because they blend a whole bunch of shit together, so they don't really have like a exact thing that they say. The only thing that was, or sorry, the closest thing that was to what the whiskey actually was the 25-year-old that was finished in Stitzel Weller barrels,
mhm.
and I'm pretty sure that was just Heaven Hill.
See, the internet's not helping me.
I don't think you're gonna get an answer.
It's I
Jefferson's is pretty tight-lipped.
if it's MGP, the cognac is a miracle worker. Um,
There's
I'd almost bet money that it's not though. It's absolutely delicious. It's everything I love about a young rye, but not but then without everything one doesn't like about a young rye.
for
Um,
those out there when we talked about what like reading a label, there's a key phrase that's missing off of this.
Straget.
Nope, it is straight.
I can't see it. My monitor is way over here.
Jefferson's straight rye whiskey finished in cognac cask. So that tells me it's not Kentucky.
Right.
Because even if they got MGP White Dog and aged it in Kentucky for more than 2 years, they could call it Kentucky Rye. And if it was a Kentucky Rye, they would brag about it.
Right. At this point, I don't care where it's from. That shit is tasty. And you can bet your bottom dollar I'll be going out and get me a bottle.
There's a Breaking Bourbon. If you like scroll back through the annals of their podcast on Apple, they actually interviewed the master blender from Jefferson's. Yeah, they do the blending, or they interviewed the blender, and it's remarkable. That guy's it was a great interview.
And blending gets such a bad rap, and we've talked about this with Scotch.
That is the top dog over there.
But yeah, it's, and before the modern day iteration of these single distilleries cranking out their own stuff, the big thing, especially turn of the 19th century, were blending houses, and it was these mom and pop family owned operations that were sourcing Scotch whiskeys from various distillers and creating these unique blends all on their own. So when you think about Chivas, Johnny Walker, the kind of young bucks contemporaries of those, like Compass Box, and even some of the kind of relatively new, that I think Mossburn was one you had found recently. That's the history of Scotch is a blended product, a blended malt from various distilleries to get a profile. I see why with Bottled in Bond Act and everything. I mean, it's steeped in the tradition that because of what was going on with bourbon at the end of the 19th century, there had to be a foot put down to protect the spirit, to keep there from being shoe polish and tobacco spit and shit like that in it. But
I think there's some of these craft whiskeys.
In a lot of ways, I feel that has at least hampered what could be the modern iteration of bourbon, and that is a whole scale movement of things like Breckenridge and Old Elk, and some of those other folks are doing, where they're blending various straight bourbons to create a product all their own.
I just took a swig of that Magnus. Whoo! So good.
But now I will pause my pontification.
I'm so amazed at the difference between what I just drank.
That was that the cigar batch or the triple cask that we sampled?
The triple cask.
That was so good.
I want a cigar batch so bad. I've only ever tried one, and they're triple cast. So this is the Just Magnus is sherry. It's two sherries and a cognac. The cigar batch is sherry, cognac, and Armagnac, and it's cask strength.
Ooh.
Oh, it's like syrup.
And see, I'd almost hate to sully that finishing with a cigar. I mean, that sounds absolutely delicious.
We both know how you get when you smoke.
Yes, we do. I'm just not cut out for cigars, I don't think.
It's okay. You don't have to.
Pipes, maybe. Maybe I'll bring pipes back.
Hey, remember? Well, that 2 years ago, the last time you broke out the corn cob.
My Missouri Meerschaum, yes, sir.
Hey, I got a legit Meerschaum. Megan's dad gave me.
What, are you bringing out your National Treasure pipe?
No.
Anyways, while Eric finds his accoutrement,
It's a live.
I'm dipping. There you go. Look at that beautiful bastard. So what I'm drinking, and you can read a little bit about it in our blog post that'll be coming out Tuesday. I'm drinking Jefferson's Ocean. Um, Eric will laugh at me. I'm a sucker for a good story or a good gimmick, and that's got me into some trouble, I guess. But Jefferson's Ocean is Jefferson's bourbon. Then what they do is they take the barreled bourbon and they put it on a research vessel, an oceanic research vessel, and sail it all over the world. I think if I remember the stats correctly, it travels to 5 continents, 25 different ports of call, and crosses the equator twice. Um, Now, what that ultimately means for the spirit in those barrels is, one, it's moving. If you've ever been on a boat, it's all over the place. So it's doing a little maybe kind of hyper aging. It's sloshing up against those barrels. Instead of somebody turning them. That much fluctuation in latitude and temperature, if you're crossing the equator that many times, means that you're encountering some pretty wide temperature swings. The other thing and I was amazed the first time I tasted it, and I'll be honest, it was at a tasting event with a bunch of buddies. It was the dregs of a bottle. There wasn't even a full pour left, and it was kind of they handed me the bottle. They're like, "You'll really like this." They told me the story, and I was like, "Okay, yeah, it's probably just bourbon." But I swear to God, you can taste the ocean in it.
Do you have
With our
cast strength expression?
that one, I don't know. Maybe it was mine that I have right here with me as a weeded, which I was pretty excited about. But they do have, I think, that you can buy off the shelf now a cask strength expression. But you can actually taste just a faint hint of like salt water, like that kind of brininess that you get with maybe an Ardbeg or, some other islas like that. And I thought it was the coolest thing. It's a very unique bourbon. And as I said in the blog post, yeah, it's a steep price tag, but I'm a sucker. I'll accept a little bit of an upcharge for a cool gimmick. But that's what I'm drinking. They do different voyages. I think they've got a version now that's just kind of a run of the mill, maybe a blended, small batch product. But they also do a yearly kind of release, and the one I got was from Voyage 19. I can't remember what year that was. I think I bought it in 2019, and it is a weeded mash bill that's gone through the rigmarole of being aged at sea. So that's what I'm drinking. I think it's cool as hell, personally. But
I'm about to partake in this one of the one of these Mossburns I've never had before. So this is Mossburn blended malt Scotch whiskey from Island single malt Scotches.
oh
Yeah, so that's what kind of intrigued me with this one. I don't have anything from Island.
yeah, that's one of the ones that I haven't partaken of yet.
So it says on the front of this, the Mossburn Cask Bill Number 1, Smoke and Spice. Reuse American whiskey barrels. First maturation in a 200-liter American standard barrel for a gentle wood influence. The second maturation is first fill bourbon staves re-put into the first barrel. And then the third maturation is heavy toasted heads reattached to a different barrel. Well, that's interesting.
I feel like that's the direction Cooper just going. I know when I
Heavily toasted virgin European oak. Well,
when I was talking to Christian Huber, well, that's one of the things they do is they mix and match heads with their barrels. So they may go with a number 3 char oak barrel, a 5-year aged French oak toasted head.
It's like water, so light.
That is light. Now a sidebar, to kind of talk Scott. So the islands are, if you're looking at kind of Scotland as this big mass that it is, you have your highlands, obviously, which are the northern parts. That's the rocky and the moors and everything. Your lowlands, which are kind of what butts up to England there in the south. Speyside is over on the coast near Edinburgh. That's on the banks of the River Spey. Islay is obviously the island of Islay off of the west coast of Scotland between Scotland and Ireland. Hamilton, which is a particular city, kind of nestled down there. As the crow flies, it's probably pretty close to Islay. And then you have the islands, which the Hebrides and those islands that kind of
Jura.
That pepper kind of the top of Scotland. So island scotches are generally known for. They're also a peated kind of smoky scotch, but it's a muted. It's like an Islay light almost. So Jura, Talisker, I think those are Highland Park maybe, are some of the big names in the island scotches.
I think Highland Park is Islay.
But
anyway, now so I was checking out the second Mossburn. So they did the same thing. But this is Speyside whiskeys. So they did the same thing except for the second maturation was Oloroso barrel, and then a heavy toasted head. But the one that I just had, the Islands, these are 46% ABV.
Nice.
So I would use these to get somebody introduced to Scotch. This is very, very non-offensive. I think I paid $35 a piece for these, which to me, I think they drink exactly what their price is. If this was, I would be severely upset if this was $50, but for $35, not bad at all. Definitely a daily sipper.
Nice. And that's at T-Dubs?
Yep. So they actually have a couple of Mossburns that are actual single malts that are just a little different. But these were in the malt side. You can like our Fort Myers Total Wine has got everything split up now completely into world whiskeys, and then it's like blended malt whiskeys, and there's you can find some random gems in there on the malt, on just the blended malt side if you're not a snob.
So ours, go figure, only has the Speyside. I need to get you a sample of or the next time you're up. We need to drink through the Craigalachy. Craigalachy. It's a peated Speyside, and it's really good. So going back to Jefferson's, I don't mean to derail you. So I took a sip of it earlier. This is 100%. If it's not entirely MGP, it is majority MGP. I can just tell with the sweetness,
What it what does it say? I'm curious.
Bottled for McLean and Kind, Louisville, Kentucky.
What kind of whiskey is it?
Straight bourbon whiskey, very small batch.
Okay, yeah. So that would point to Indiana.
Um, but it's good though. It's good. And it does have, again, this is a weeded mash bill, and it's got those kind of briny, even some tropical notes that are really really good. Again, I'm not upset by this product at all.
Right. Okay. I don't get any smoke and spice on this. I don't know where the hell they were talking about that, but it's just young Scotch. Now people turn their nose up at that. I love young Scotch. I love young peated Scotch. I love that young barley taste.
It goes over a lot better than young corn.
The only thing that I'll say about a young barley is young barley will overpower whatever it's finished in.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do try to get something that is finished that is young like that, it is difficult. Which is why you'll see these at a higher proof.
I mean, think back to Wee Beastie. It's strawberries and cream because it's 5-year-old Scotch in sherry.
Right. I like that shirt.
Thank you. I like yours too.
It's my favorite shirt. I've had it for a long time.
I was about to say, I think there's pictures of you in like high school with that shirt.
You did. That's where it's like so, quick. I know we're Sunday even sifting, but quick story on this shirt. So this is actually a vintage Abercrombie from like the mid '90s, and I found it on eBay when I was 12, and I bought an extra large so I could grow into it.
That's pretty sad that an extra large Abercrombie fits you like it does.
Right. But yeah, so this is just such a. I bought it because I was like, that's the weirdest damn shirt I've ever seen. There's not a shirt I like. There's not a shirt around that's like that. So I got it.
So let's talk for a minute other weird novel whiskeys.
I can tell you a big one.
And let's not limit it to bourbon or American whiskey. I know our podcast focuses on that. Let's talk the entire whiskey spectrum. Things maybe let's say last 2 years that have come out that are novelties.
Things finished in Mizunaro.
Yeah, which
That has been popular lately.
is pardon my ignorance, and I can hold on. I'll Google it before I.
It's a wood.
So it's a wood. Okay.
It's a Japanese wood.
It sounds Japanese.
Yeah.
It's a Japanese oak.
Yeah.
I'll name one because I'm looking right at it. Toasted barrels as a finish.
Yeah.
And I think we have encountered that done well, and that done within the last 2 years. That was it. Masters Keep 1 that came out this year.
Yep. That was 3 months in a toasted barrel.
So that one I thought was done really, really well.
Timing on that was correct. Like that was it just enough.
I was leery of that. I've got a Balvenie that is finished in toasted American oak, but it's again, a space side, so it's already a little on the fruitier side of malty.
Was that a 14 or 15?
I think it's a 12 actually.
You're right. You're right.
Because it's younger than my Caribbean, but it's done really well. It picks up a lot of interesting notes out of that toasted oak. And then there's, it hurts my heart to say it, the Elijah Craig toasted barrel. It just wasn't
Awful.
I want to revisit it.
Save some
I
information
will.
to it.
I will revisit it. Bear with me. You're going to see my ass for a second as I go reach for it.
Add a drop of cognac to it.
Well, I don't have any cognac.
Yeah, you do. You got some Armagnac.
Well, I'm not going to put 25-year-old Armagnac in Elijah Craig toasted barrel.
For those two people that are watching, I can do this. Whee!
Pardon me. Pardon me.
I'm pardoning you.
Pardon me.
I'm gonna count all Tennessee whiskey as finished because they put it in maple charcoal.
Oh, that was, I was, because I've got a picture that's going to go up with the blog post. I consider, almost now I consider bottled and bond a gimmick.
It has become one. That's fair. John Farrell, hell yeah.
Did bottled and bond, like, and they do these weird freaking age state. The one I have is 15 years old. Why?
15-year-old bottled and bond.
What's that?
You have a 15-year-old bottled and bond.
Yeah, 2019.
The Dickel.
The 2019's Dickel release, bottled and bond, was 15 years old.
Hey,
last year, or 2020's was.
There was a 13, there was an 11, there was a 15.
I think 2020 was 11 because that's what really pissed me off about it. Was I was like,
is that the one that smelled like cat piss?
It may have been. I mean, you get to a point that all those old Dickels kind of have a twang.
Sean Farrell, I'm coming to your house, son.
But no, like, yeah, but Master's Keep. Last year's Master's Keep was bottled and bond, or not last year, but 2020's Master Keep.
Yeah, 17
was bottled and bond. And it's just interesting now that the gold standard has become a gimmick. Now on the craft side of things, I have a lot of respect for a craft distiller that does a bottled and bond. That's a tremendous risk, and you're really putting your neck out there. But I mean, it'd be like Elijah Craig, Heaven Hill doing an Elijah Craig bottled and bond. Like, what's the friggin' purpose at this point?
A lot of these craft distilleries are at a low barrel entry proof,
right?
And that's what the market is saying is like, hey, this may taste like ass now, but fast forward and you're actually going to actually have a quality product, and that kind of ties into why they're cheaper, why they're more expensive. I know they got to keep the lights on, but it's like a lot of these places are doing like 107 and 110 barrel entry proofs when some of these boys are doing 125, and that kind of cuts into money there.
But I asked Christian Huber, I said, why do you don't have to. Why do you guys do a bottled and bond? And they said it's for them, the size of distillery that they are, it's a badge of honor. It's
it's the Boy Scout badges, as what's his face? Bernie Lubbers. Bernie Lubbers says it. It's a merit badge sash to be a bottled and bond whiskey.
It's he said it's to show that they're serious. They're not putting out crap whiskey. They've got a bottled and bond product.
Pardon my there's a certain person on here. Pardon my impersonation, but I got to do it for him. It's the goddamn globalist that's doing it.
All right, I'm revisiting here live on the air. The Elijah Craig Toasted Barrel. We reviewed this last year.
Hated it.
I mean, we didn't have. We weren't very fond of it.
Eric can be nice and PC. I hated it.
It just. So Florida live oaks, water oaks. We've got oak trees out our ass here. A couple of weeks after I tasted this, we were walking through the neighborhood, and I can't remember if they'd cut one down or they just trimmed some limbs and had sawed up limbs. So we're talking maybe white oak, red oak. It was an oak tree. So we passed. These limbs had maybe not even been cut an hour, and just that fresh oak sawdust smell is exactly what this damn Elijah Craig smelled like and tasted like too.
Since we're drinking finished whiskey.
Well, that's not finished in anything.
It's finished in maple charcoal.
Well, it started in maple charcoal, isn't it?
Yeah, but they run the white dog through the maple charcoal before they put it in a barrel. And
well,
then,
it's not finished whiskey; it started whiskey.
it was a joke. I was saying that I was like, well, if we're doing that, then all Tennessee whiskey's finished whiskey.
And I hate to say, I have not tried it. Is it finished or? And that is Long Branch, or is it started as well?
It's the same.
They do mesquite charcoal mellowing.
It's the same. It's the same with the. I think Long Branch says it's refined with Texas mesquite, which in code is they ran it over some smoky charcoal.
Whew.
But like I said, for finishing a whiskey and finish, it's word play, between exactly what that is, because technically there are whiskeys that say that they pour it over something and that is a form of finishing. Like, I don't see any difference in saying that something is finished with staves put into a barrel than you pouring whiskey over charcoal. Because
I mean,
putting in there are charred.
I know, the Lincoln County method or whatever. Well, no, I take that back.
They're slow dripping it too.
I was going to say, I don't see any difference between.
It's a different wood too. It's maple.
Right. But yeah, I mean, most of your big distillers do charcoal mellowing, don't they? Where they run the final distillate over charcoal. They pour it out of the barrel over charcoal.
Right. Most do the after. Tennessee does the before.
I almost find the after to be more egregious. I mean, I feel like that's a way to cheat a little bit on your age.
Well, that if you look at some of those like old Japanese exports from Heaven Hill, and I was listening to Denny Potter talk about it one time on a podcast that that's how they made the older whiskey that they had taste better, and it kind of removed a lot of those tannic notes.
Well, it's like running it through a Brita filter almost.
Yeah, like all of those old, like the old Heaven Hill, the Evan Williams, a lot of those, like the GTS Brown, like all the old stuff that was bottled and bond back in the day. J.W. Dant, T.W. Samuels, all that was charcoal mellowed, and that's what it says. It says mellowed.
Yeah, I too enjoy two initial last name whiskey. All right. All I got is, God, the nose on this is so acrid is the only word that I can use to describe it. It's like, it's sharp. it's it it stings the nostrils. Um, it's just it's heavy oak. Like maybe there's some bourbon in there, but it's just oak.
99 bottles of Jack says his mom runs cheap vodka through a Brita filter.
I've heard that. Like that's the only thing, but the only difference between like shitty vodka and good vodka is how many times it's been filtered.
I mean, isn't that what, like, I mean, theoretically, I mean, I maybe dumb on actually what vodka can be made out of, but vodka can be made out of any grain, can it?
Yeah, it's just clear neutral spirit. You make it out of corn.
Right. So,
Um,
so theoretically, you could do a white dog. You could do a white dog moonshine, or you could just have a white dog moonshine and call it a vodka, couldn't you? I
I'm
don't.
sure there's legalities
I don't know if it's
like
distilled a couple of times. I think it maybe have to still like over 2 or 3 times, but I know because I know they'll run the spirit, or they'll run the mash, they'll distill it, and then they'll distill it again because they're just extracting more and more alcohol out of it. So now it's just straight alcohol, and then they'll filter it, and that's kind of how you get into your fancier vodkas. Your fancier vodkas just taste like straight alcohol, and your cheaper vodkas actually you can actually taste the grain.
yeah, I know Moonrise in up in North Georgia, they do a vodka and it's corn. Um and I don't know how many times he distills it, but he's a huge chemistry nerd, and that's kind of the cool thing. Um and his distillation temperature, he's got like a handful of alcohols that he's trying to extract. And so it's a clear spirit, it's non-aged, it's triple distilled, but it has a mouthfeel, it has like a flavor. It's very unique. Um, and I think good vodka, probably, good Russian vodka and not, the shit we get here is probably has a lot of those characteristics.
It was like the joke that Fred Minnick always makes, and I agree with him so much. Is vodka is only made for you to be drunk on. That's it.
Well, here, yeah, in America. Um, but no, like over Eastern Europe, they'll sip vodka like we sip bourbon. That's like Mexico, Latin America, they'll sip tequila like we sip bourbon. It's
I also
you
think
know
we need to try a mezcal because I heard that was the tequila for whiskey drinkers.
you know I've seen and been um become curious about Total Wine's done a couple of Patron Añejo barrel picks, and I'm very intrigued in that. I think that'd be something to venture down a rabbit hole. Maybe come summer. That's a real summery beverage. We can look at some tequila. Yeah. Back to Elijah Craig though. This whiskey's such a letdown.
That's
It's
terrible.
it's it's thin. I could. It's obviously younger than the small batch. Um, it's thin. It's sweet. It almost drinks like MGP, to be honest. It's that saccharine sweetness.
Right.
And maybe it's picking up some barrel sugars. I don't know, but then it's not as oaky in flavor as it was on the first time. But it's just sad. It could have been done so much better.
Oh,
I
Lord.
feel like if you had taken Elijah Craig White Dog, so Heaven Hill White Dog, had a toasted barrel that then you charred, then you would have a quality product with probably the end result that they were wanting with this.
Right.
Um,
But
and
anyways,
I think that's where craft distillers have with their economy of scale, they can be picky about stuff like that. They can say, hey, I want this barrel toasted to 200 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 minutes before you lay a number 3 char on it. Now, yeah, that's a trick to get those wood sugars up close to the surface, but it also gives it a flavor. I think you said it when we had the moonrises. This is what Elijah Craig could have been,
Right.
Which I was pleased as punch to hear that, because that's high praise coming from you to talk about a craft distiller with such lofty terms.
Everybody, yeah, everybody thinks I'm anti-craft. I put the big boys through the same rigorous step. If I don't like it, I won't drink it.
I'm not anti-craft. I'm anti-crap.
Yeah, exactly. If it's crap whiskey, it's crap whiskey. But it's that time again, there, broski.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. As we've talked about gimmicky whiskey tonight. You're watching this on YouTube or Facebook. Be sure to check out Instagram. We got all kinds of crazy pictures. Check out our blog, airsdrinkwhiskey.blogspot.com, and check out our podcast, Air Drink Whiskey in Stuff, on Spreaker and Apple Podcasts. But this has been a fun one. Really enjoyed it. And until next time, folks,
Cheers.
Cheers.